Okay. Ending Duel says hard space shipbreaker. It's split into 10-minute shifts, but how many 15-minute shifts? But how many 15-minute shifts should I play? That's totally up to you. Like that actually, I do enjoy games that they do have a game rotation where it's a set time where it's like, okay, I do this for 15 minutes. Now, like, there is a clear break point. And then I do this for 15 minutes, and there's a clear break point. Like, that is good because every time you hit the end of the 15 minutes, like, okay, now is that moment where I go, okay, do I play more or is it bedtime? Versus games that don't have a. This sucks. I also don't have axes. Alright, let's see if we can find a zombie, because I am going to show a couple of things. So actually, first, if you're brand new to the game, and you haven't already had someone go through this, which a lot of streamers will. Yeah, Subnautica is one. I need to play that more. I only dipped my toe into that when I know this game is going to require a lot of time, and I never got into it because I'm like, I'm waiting till I have that time to properly dive in. But if you're brand new to the game, one of the first things I'd recommend is going into options, go into your display tab here. Some of these settings may have changed their defaults, and if they have, awesome. Thank you, IndieSo, for changing. But I haven't verified that. So here's the thing to consider. If you ever get to the point of dealing with any type of long run or high zombie pop, this blood decals, I believe it starts at 100%. I'd recommend changing it to like either a really low percent or none. Because what that is when you kill a zombie, it falls over and it puts a blood splatter on the ground. Cool, awesome. Everyone loves a blood splatter. The problem is that blood splatter is now part of your map for all eternity. Now, a few of those isn't a problem, but each one of those is a texture that's added to your map. So you can get where this is going, that after you've killed, 13,000 zombies like we have, you start having performance implication from the sheer amount of blood splatters everywhere. So that's one if you're having performance issues, especially if it's not like when you start, you slowly build up to a performance issue. This might be a way to fix that. The next one, and I believe this may have changed to 50% from default, but the ISO cursor used to be like 10-15%. I would recommend that at 50 or 75%, and I can show you what that is in a minute, but that'll help you. You can also say show mouse cursor while aiming. That's a preference thing. I know some people really don't like it, some people do, but that just means your mouse doesn't disappear when you're aiming. And the last one is aim outline. I believe it starts on ranged weapon. I suggest any weapon, and I'll show you what all that is in a moment. But those are settings that definitely change. So the first one is that ISO cursor. So if you look, there's this little circle with a line above it that moves around as I'm aiming. So I'm aiming at the circle here that's on the bottom there. So it's like, if this is right next to my character, the zombie be right next to me, that's where I'm aiming. You want to be able to see that. When it's at 10-15%, it can be very hard to see. Not in like super bright or super dark situations, but anywhere that's kind of in between. So like when it's raining just a little bit, but it's not nighttime, it can make it super difficult to see, and you really want to make sure you know which way you're facing and aiming and all that, because losing track of your mouse is really bad for you in this game. Like that is legit how you die. So we've probably had a straggler zombie in here by now, so we're going to go find ourselves a zombie. And part of the reason I'm doing this versus pushing is I don't feel like driving around in the fog is a good way to slam into something and beat up your vehicle, even though I've had terrible track record the last day of hitting a bunch of zombies and all that after having an amazing track record. Don't know what happened. But it happens. Once upon a time, this place was jam-packed with zombies. It's okay. If I have to walk down here, I have a police car. We can blast the sirens, and at least something will show up. Another pro tip, which I'm somewhat violating at the moment, is slow down. You don't need to run. Running uses stamina. It makes you hot. It makes you sweaty, which uses water. When you go to exerted, you're suddenly doing not Like, it doesn't take a damage penalty of like 5-10%. It hits you for like a 20-30% damage penalty when you hit moderate exertion. It is severe. So you do not want to go exert. Okay, so I got a group of zombies here. Perfect. So the first thing you're going to want to do, try and line up the zombies. Yeah, like this is perfect. As much as you can Congo line. Because this way, you hit one, they fall over. You hit the next one, and you can just keep fighting. You'll notice I'm almost always backing up. That way, if I miss a swing or my weapon breaks, I'm not in the danger. Okay. Another pro tip. When you or another zombie is standing on a zombie, you pin that zombie to the ground. It is not a threat to you. This zombie cannot hurt me. I'm a little hungry. I'll just cook myself a little fish. Ooh, I'll have a little bit to eat. Don't mind me. It's okay, zombie. Just enjoying a little snack. It's a nice, calm, foggy day. Here, I'm going to make some more food. You get the idea. This zombie is not a threat. But they're loud and annoying. My one caution I will give you is if the zombie is crawling along the ground, don't try and stand on it. It will bite the crap out of your ankles. But that's very, very useful for when you're dealing with the zombies. Because, you know, I push the zombie over, whether it's by just I'm hitting it with my stick and it falls over, and now if I have the Congo line of zombies, they all Congo line over top of that zombie, keeping it from getting up until there's a big enough gap in the Congo line for it to get up. So, those are very, very helpful tips. One thing you definitely do not want to do, and I'm just moving these barbed wires, is if the zombies are perpendicular to you, so like if they're like this way from me, the way I'm facing, you do not want to hit those zombies, because you'll end up hitting one, if you have multi-hit, maybe 2 or 3, and then the other zombies from the outside can just get right on past. When you run those situations where zombies are all like that, if they're up close, you turn around, you get 2 or 3 steps away, you walk faster than the zombies, you just walk. If you got a little room, you can kind of like wiggle a little bit, like I'm doing right now. And you're trying to basically get the zombie, like whichever one, you're trying to get one of the ones that's next to each other to like lead the other one a little bit, so they're bumping into each other. And then you can get like a little bit of a Congo line. They'll never fully cooperate. It's very rare to get like a full-on single file line. But as long as it's roughly somewhere ahead of the others, that's fine enough. But you want to be very careful to try and get them so you're only fighting, you know, one zombie at a time. Unless you're using multi-hit, at which point then you're talking 2 at a time if they're like really close together and all that. At the moment, I actually personally don't care for sprinters in this game. I feel like it changes the entire feel of the game in a way I don't care for, but there are people who absolutely love running sprinters, and cool, again, whatever way you find the game is fun. The problem I have with sprinters more than anything else is it boils down to, even on the lowest setting for sprinters, there are a lot of sprinters. And so if I pull, for example, this group, so I've got one, if it's a sprinter, I'm fine right now. Because it runs up to me, I beat the crap out of it, we're good. Like, you just fight it, it's fine. But now if I go up, I pulled 3. If these were sprinters and I don't have a fence or a window handy, surviving this would be extremely difficult. It can be done, and there are ways to do it. But usually it ends up you just have to abuse fences and windows and stuff like that to force them into single file and all that. And to me, that's more abusing game mechanics, which is fine. Creative use of game mechanics is absolutely okay. But the fact that I have to perpetually do it is just not fun for me. I am much more of a fan of the slow, methodical zombies. You go, okay, large groups, make sure I take my time, make sure I'm pulling them, make sure I'm moving them in a way that is going to work for me, all that kind of stuff. That's much more my wheelhouse gameplay. Like, I'm also cool with gameplay where, you know, food is scarce, or water is super hard to get a hold of, or weapons are short. Like, that's also fun gameplay for me. But high speed, not high adrenaline, it's still Project Zomboid, but high speed, intense gameplay in Project Zomboid is not really why I play Project Zomboid. Oh yeah, sprinters on 16x pop, just forget about it. Like, I've done that on stream as a gag, but it's, you know, I think the longest we made it was a good couple real life minutes because I just started running as fast as I could and it lasted until a sprinter finally caught me. Yeah, I mean, you could do that. My concern from a lore aspect, makes perfect sense. If the zombies are decaying, eventually you don't have zombies that are meaningful anymore. They're too far gone. From a gameplay aspect, my concern is that gets very boring. Because it's like, okay, I've done the hard part, now I'm to the easy part. And you'll actually see, if you go into my VOD, some of the runs I've done, there are challenges I did, I'm like, okay, I've already done the hard part of the challenge. Like, while I have not technically completed the challenge, it's just easy skating from here on. And usually I'll get bored with the challenge and do something else. Hey, Rainbow Octavian, how's it going? Like, we did the really CDDA challenge, which, for those who are not familiar, is one of the hardest challenges they have in Project Zomboid. Like, that is just built in the base game. That the entire idea is it's your character's absolutely worst day of their life. You start it where your character is soaking wet, they're naked, they have a terrible cold, they've got a piece of glass lodged in their groin, which is a deep wound injury. Their house is on fire. The loot is set to extremely rare on everything. And it is in the middle of the winter, so the power and water are already off. And that's what you start with. It's basically the game screaming F you as hard as it can as you start the game, where most of those runs end in like the first 5 minutes. Because if you don't get the piece of glass out of your groin and bandaged, you bleed out. If you don't leave your house, you're burned alive. If you go outside and you can't find clothes, you freeze to death. And then the way colds work in this game is you sneeze, you cough, you hack, and it's basically the equivalent to me mashing yell again and again every couple seconds. So it is a pretty brutal start. Where like the first minute of it is just being as fast as you can, going, alright, yank out the glass. Oh, I found a kern, rip it, shove it over my groin. That one, because your house starts on fire, whether you like burns or not, congratulations, you're doing a burn because the burn was already going when you got there. You might as well use it, because also when you're super sick, your ability to fight is terrible. So that's fine. I got my cell, and that fog made it so we didn't... Oh, I did not check the radio. This is something I need to be very careful about. And the reason I need to be very careful about is I have multiple helicopters turned on, so where most people reach the helicopter event and then just, that's rough. For me, that helicopter keeps coming. It just visits us again and again and again until we're dead. And I mean, it still visits, we're just not here for it. I still wish they had an unpack one. Alright, I don't think I have any more axes left. Because if I did have an axe, now would be a good time to knock down a few trees, since we kind of lost half our day to dealing with this this fog. Maybe we forage for a bit, because I haven't done that forever. Alright, so we're getting light rain tomorrow. I actually don't mind doing stuff with light rain. Alright, if we had a helicopter, it would have told us that air activity was detected at the end of that. It didn't, so we have no helicopter right now. Right. And it is those things like, okay, I get that they, like, the UI does not accommodate that many options, but it's like, look, let me do at least all or one. Like, give me both those options. Anything you want to do on top of that, that's just bonus. Like, I will gladly, like, the half and all that, sure, at least I can one my way to half. What was I going to grab? There's something I was going to grab. I just said we could do something. And I'm blanking, because we don't have an axe, so I can't work in the carpentry. I don't... Oh, we're gonna forge. That's right. Because, sure, why not? Alright, so some things that the game doesn't tell you about foraging. If you're wearing a helmet, it penalizes how far you can see. I don't know if this penalizes, but we're going to take that off. So basically, take off your glasses, your helmet, and all that if you're going to try and forge and get any meaningful progress. I usually turn to sneaking about, just because it makes it easier to see stuff. It's probably someone's glasses. No, it is a pair of tweezers. Okay. You can click on an item icon and select the groups of items. Yeah, so that is one thing. What's being mentioned here is that I could go where somebody have a stack. Alright, it's just 2, but I could actually go through here, and if I have 20 of these, I could scroll, grab 10, and drop them. And honestly, I should do that more, but I usually don't like uncollapsing stuff because it takes too much space. But it is something I should just do. Okay, so what happens is, first, you go here, you bring this up, and you choose Enable Search, and that puts you in search mode. And if you put your mouse over this, it'll tell you the kinds of things you'll find, not specifically what you find. At that point, you want to walk around. You'll notice I went immediately into sneaking, and I did that mostly to slow myself down. But basically, you keep walking around until you see like a little eyeball start appearing above your character. And if you see question marks down here, there's no loot at that thing at all. So, move on. But as you wander around, you'll switch different, I'm going to call them biomes. I don't know if that's the term they use. But pretty much what happens is you have a radius around you that you can see. And when stuff gets in that radius, your character will notice it. Now, there's some catches. Stuff like helmets and glasses and that will make it so you don't notice it. There's also a thing where they have what they refer to as the pity timer, where basically, if you don't find anything for long enough, it'll put something nearby you. So we found twigs, and we found an empty water bottle. Cool. But, you do all that. The thing that's kind of rough about it is there's so many things that penalize your ability to find stuff. If it's dark, congratulations. You have a penalty on your ability to find stuff. If you're walking around and it's raining or it's foggy, that's a penalty. You're wearing your helmet or glasses, that's a penalty. You're too tired, that's a penalty. And so that's the caveat, is where a lot of people say, I can't find literally anything. Usually it's stuff like that where they have... So, we just found ourselves a can of carrots. Yeah, that's just representation of the sun. I think it's certain glasses, like sunglasses, stuff like that. I don't think it's all glasses. But it's kind of hard to go through and go, well, this one does and that one doesn't, or this one has a mild penalty, that one has a severe penalty. Well, this helmet's not that bad, and this helmet is bad. And it's easier to just be like, yeah, just take your helmet off. Just take your helmet off. Yep, nope, this is the only thing this is useful for is turning it on and off, and then seeing where it says, like, okay, here's the types of things you could find. We'll find materials, food, and animals. We could find other and medicinal plants, but they're pretty rare. So I actually want to check out the urban biome more, because the urban biome is the one that I actually find interesting. And if you see question mark, I mean, it tells you there's nothing here. There's nothing to find here. It's they basically didn't add a loot table for wherever you're standing on. It's mostly just certain roads and all that. Okay, so we found the doorknob is what it was. And it'll happen with certain things like doorknobs and glasses and rip sheets. That's the reason I'm just skipping that. It's the doorknob. Rip sheets, stuff like that. Your character will be like, I found it. And you're just like, but I put it there. Like, I know it's there. We were the ones who put it there. Yep, sometimes in parking lots you can find car keys. You can find boxes of nails. Sometimes you can find stuff like hand axes. You can even find like full-on guns and everything, and boxes of ammo and all that kind of stuff. The catch is certain things you can only find when you have a high enough foraging. Any shortcut keys for navigating containers? Sure. So if we come up to this container, so one thing I can do is if I go and I scroll, if there's enough stuff here, like I can scroll and I can go through here. Now, one thing I can do is if I hold shift and scroll, I can actually switch through tabs here. I can also do that if I put my mouse over here and I scroll with my mouse on the actual tabs. So that can be very helpful. And we're going to start working our way home at this point because it's starting to get dark. Yep, and otherwise you can click and drag stuff. You can right-click on the tabs to do stuff here. So one thing that I'm trying to get better about, because I keep forgetting is a thing, is a lot of times when I'm looting, I'll have a second bag in my offhand. And then if I run to a situation where I need to fight, is I will right-click and I'll choose drop on the bag. Because that can be extremely useful for, especially like I'm carrying a lot of planks or stuff that's heavy. I can just immediately chuck my bag on the ground. Now I'm not overburned and I can go and fight and then pick it back up. Because like, for example, let's pretend I'm at very heavy load. Very heavy load sucks for fighting. You never want to fight there. And I aggro a horde. I can go... I'm doing this wrong. I can just drop the bag a second later. Now I'm not at very heavy load, so I'm good to fight. Is that going to show me that the backpack's there? Oh, that's cool. The other way you do it, and the way I normally do it, is I click and drag that and drop it. But right-click and drop is faster. It's a habit I need to develop because I'm so used to doing it the other way. And on that note, because this is a mistake a lot of people make, is because they're used to some other games where you can do what I refer to as infinite bags, which is where you put a bag in a bag and a bag and a bag and a bag to keep giving yourself more and more space to put stuff in. You can't do that in Project Zomboid. You can put bags inside of each other, but you don't gain more space. And that's because the weight reduction that bags give you only applies when it's equipped, either on your back, your primary hand, or your secondary hand. Alright, we did see a thing. Where'd it go? And sometimes it's hard to find. Yep. Oh, here we go. I can't tell what that is. What did you give me? A cold pack. I actually don't care about a cold pack, but it gave me a level in foraging, so I'm cool with it. That's mostly why I'm doing is I don't actually care about finding stuff at the moment. It's just foraging to get the skill up, because then later in a pinch I can use it to find stuff. But yeah, for case in point, let's go and look at this. So I have my bag right now. If I unequip it, my inventory weight goes from... oh, I dropped it on the ground. If I'm just holding it, not equipped, my weight is absolutely ludicrous. If I put it on my back, suddenly it weighs almost nothing. So that's just... oh, I left the car running. The good news in this game is idling cars use negligible amounts of gas. But yeah, so where you get excited where it's like, oh, well, I got 2 bags, and just fill up one and put them inside the other and, abuse that, infinite inventory. Unfortunately, they have thought of that, so that's not a thing. And we gotta stop searching, because we'll just notice, oh, searching got turned off. It will turn itself off under certain conditions, like if you're in a fight that's got a couple of zombies, the investigate area will just automatically shut itself off, because, you want to be able to see. And then plus, the idea is your character's not focusing at looking at stuff on the ground. That's all fresh, that's all fresh, that's all fresh. That's all fresh. We're going to grab veggies for now. And I'm doing that because we do have full calories here. So I don't want to just keep slamming a bunch of stuff. So let's grab 2 of you, 3 of you. 2 of you. 3 of you. Alright, so I'm going to fill the empty bottle we found. Because I can use that for water storage. And the reason I can drink from those those sinks endlessly, is I have these rain barrels on the roof piped up to them. Explaining how that works is better done by a YouTube video because it is a whole process. Like, it is one of the least intuitive things in this game is how you put rain barrels over sinks to plumb them in. So that's one of those things, if you go do it, just find a YouTube video where they can take you step by step, because that's when I can explain it, but unless you're actually watching me do it, it's going to be not helpful. But because they're hooked up, you'll notice I have 400 water roughly that I can potentially have here. That's because the rain barrel has 400 water in it. So if I fill a water bottle and I put it in the fridge and it rains, I have a new water bottle's worth of storage there. And that was a light outside exploding. Let me grab a light bulb. Let's actually check all our lights outside. I'll grab a handful. So every so often, your light bulbs will burn out. So you see I've got my light here. It's out. Add a new light bulb. Yep, that is one of the main perks of when you plumb a rain barrel into a sink, is it is not tainted when it goes into the sink. So you don't have to boil it or anything else, because otherwise I have to go in there and boil all the water, you know, little by little, and it's more of a tedious problem than anything. Not that the water is necessarily like the most tedious thing. Okay, so all the other lights are on. Cool. So we only have one light that burned out. But yeah, so all these, you'll look when I go drink, it doesn't say it's tainted, and that's because it's plumbed. But if I go outside, I'm also just killing time because we don't want to go to bed too early or we'll wake up in the middle of the night. If I go out here and I go to one of these rain barrels, it says, tainted water source, unsafe for drinking. So yeah. Now, as an extra tip, which works for now, I do not know if they will fix it, so if it kills you someday, you know, just be warned. Right now it works, it might change. Is if I go to this water source, like a lake or a river, I can drink directly from that, and I'll even show you. It's perfectly fine. It'll not hurt you. If I take a bottle and I fill it up with that water and I drink it, it will absolutely kill you. It makes no sense. I don't know why it's that way. But as long as you're drinking directly from it, as in like going to the menu, choosing drink on like a lake or river, you can drink it and you'll be fine at the time being. It's been that way for a long time, but it is one thing I partially expect them to change at some point. So I do tell people, it's like, if you're dehydrated, just, you know, go sippy sip out of a lake or a river, you'll be okay, but just know that may not be an option forever. I don't have any books I can read because I don't have Fishing Intermediate. I don't have Tailoring Expert. And I need to kill a little more time. And because it's winter, we're not going to catch anything meaningful fishing. I'm just doing it for a couple of points of experience and to, you know, kill some time. Because I tried to go to bed about 10 o'clock. I mean, this one we weren't nearly tired enough. Yeah. You know what? This is one of those times when you just go, you know, I would really like to sleep game. So I'm just going to take a sleeping pill. Make myself a salad. Oh, and making salads is incredibly overpowered. Like, to the point they should probably actually nerf it. So if you notice, each of those veggies They don't give me happiness. Like, there's no happiness mechanic here. Oh, we got a cockroach. I will put that away. We'll eat you later. But I make a salad and suddenly that's 30 unhappiness it's going to get me. So you can actually take, like, I can take stale cabbage that will make my character upset to eat and put in a salad bowl, and magically it makes me happy. It's still the limp, stale cabbage I grabbed out of the fridge, but it makes you happy. So it's very much worth grabbing a bowl and bringing it with you, because any type of, like, produce or fish or ham or stuff like that you can make a salad with, and just, it makes it better. Even if you put it in all by itself. Thank you for the follow. Come Randy. Welcome to the stream. I debated whether or not I was going to say that name, and I went for it, and, you know, here we are.